And our first stop, stage 1, classification. This is where it starts. This is the us versus them phase, where ironically, the majority dominant part of society is threatened by the minority. What is known as the other can be a different race, nationality, or religion, like in this case, Indian Muslims. There are 1.4 billion people in India, representing diverse ethnicities, languages, and religions. Since the BJP came into power, Modi's government has espoused Hindutva ideology, classifying Indian society into Hindus and Muslims, or Indians and non-Indians. The division of society has begun. Stage 2, symbolization. Now that we have the other, they now need to be distinguished and identified. In Nazi Germany, the Jews were forced to wear the Star of David. Although Muslims haven't been forced to wear a symbol, Muslims are identified and often criminalized in Indian society by the expressions of their religion. If you look into your textbook of examples, you can see the ban on hijab in bold. Muslim girls and teachers who wear the hijab were denied entry to colleges on grounds that the hijab goes against the school policy on appropriate school uniforms. Girls were forced to remove the hijab outside the college grounds. Another symbol used by the BJP and the RSS to sow divisions is the consumption of beef by Muslims. The consumption of beef is prohibited in some states, even though India is one of the top exporters of beef in the world. Hindutva mobs conveniently forget this whenever they catch Muslims transporting, selling, and consuming beef. Now, Muslims are scared to even lay eyes on a cow as a result of these mob attacks. What these vigilantes do after they catch Muslims? We'll share the unpleasant details in a later stage. Stage 3, discrimination. After the minority group has been identified and distinguished, now begins the legal discrimination. Discrimination delivered through policies on a national scale effectively made India Muslims second-class citizens, like the Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019, for example. This effectively made religion the basis for which immigrants can become Indian citizens. Discrimination doesn't stop there. Ever heard of love jihad? Like a tale of a Greek tragedy, love jihad is a conspiracy that accuses Muslim men of luring Hindu women into marriages in order to convert them to Islam. That's why the BJP-run government prohibited interfaith marriages. When it comes to anti-Muslim discriminatory laws, there's a laundry list of them. Stage 4, dehumanization. Muslims in India are subjected to all sorts of discrimination, and they're often denied their humanity, as they're often equated with animals and vermin by RSS members. Essentially, dehumanization works to remove the barrier that often sits between people and inhumane acts like murder. The BJP use media, books, and other mediums to spread these ideas. Take Home Minister Amit Shah, for example. He likened Muslims to termites eating the food that should go to the poor. Even in religious conferences, Muslims aren't free from Hindutva bigotry, where calls for genocide and ethnic cleansing are openly called.
मुसलमानों को मारने के लिए तलवार की आवश्यकता नहीं होगी। आपको टेक्निक में उनसे बहुत आगे जाना होगा। वो बहुत अच्छे हथियार लिए हुए बैठे हैं। हथियार उठाए बिना धरती की कोई कौम ना तो बच सकती है और ना ही कभी बचेगी।
Stage 5, organization. Organizing a genocide takes time, and in India's case, it's been decades of Islamophobic fear-mongering and indoctrination that aroused millions. Hindutva factions have gathered and formed around hate-filled propaganda. Remember how we said earlier that Muslims were caught by Hindutva mobs for consuming beef? International humanitarian organizations have accused Hindutva factions of riling up violent lynch mobs with the aim of brutally murdering any Muslim suspected of transporting or consuming beef. But the depravity doesn't stop there. These murderous vigilante mobs hunt interfaith couples who supposedly perform love jihad and crack down on any Muslim student who dares protesting their unjust discrimination. When it comes to Hindutva supremacist organizations, the RSS is at the head. They have been accused of plotting assassinations, stoking riots against Muslim minorities, as well as committing acts of terrorism. Under the BJP-led government, its influence and popularity have grown significantly. Stage 6, polarization. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's chief propagandist, once said, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it." India's media polarization has formed major echo chambers of Islamophobic bigotry that further fuels anti-Muslim harassment. Right-wing media personalities, religious leaders, and BJP politicians have been blasting Islamophobic rhetoric to millions of screens across the country. Take for example this guy, Arnab Goswami. His channel runs on false, divisive, and inflammatory reporting. One of his fairy tales framed Indian Muslims as being responsible for the spread of the COVID virus to target the Hindu population. I kid you not. Even active social media personalities and groups have gotten away with literal murder as a result of Facebook turning a blind eye to anti-Muslim hate speech. Stage 7. Preparation. All this hateful division and polarization has worked to cure part of the problem, but now the perpetrating group need the final solution to their problem. So now begins the planning and preparation. All the previous indoctrination and calls for mass Muslim extermination have led to this. Just look at this clip of this senior member of a right-wing Hindu nationalist party calling for her supporters to kill Muslims to protect the country. But for boots on the ground, you need to look no further than occupation of Muslim-majority Jammu and Kashmir. In 2019, India controversially positioned and stationed 600,000 troops to occupy the disputed state. Since then, there have been reports of arrests, torture, rape, and murder of Kashmiri citizens. Police encounters and citizen disappearances are routine, and the freedom of the press and movement is restricted. For many Muslims in India, this is a sign of what's to come in their own neighborhood. The 7th stage. That's where Muslims in India currently find themselves, in limbo between stage 7 and stage 8. Preparation for extermination and actual extermination. Teetering on the edge of a full genocide carried out by a neighbor on a neighbor. If the theory behind these 10 stages stands true, which they have so far, then only one possible outcome can come: genocide. The persecution has been normalized and acted out by influential people and laymen alike. The right-wing Hindu nationalists have successfully induced fear and hatred of the other in order to collect Hindutva sympathizers as voters. Modi's government feeds itself and its voters from the same ideological plate. The Simon Scott Center for the Prevention of Genocide released a 2023 report. It ranks India as being the 8th highest risk of a new mass killing. History has taught us that genocide is very real and can happen anywhere, whether it be in Europe or India. But to be taught by history means that you need to study it first. And for that matter, we have a lot to learn so that genocide can be prevented in India or in any other place in the world. And if you're not convinced yet, then think about this. Right now, Muslim Indians total 200 million. So if genocide occurs on a national scale, then this would make it the largest number of people exterminated in any genocide in history. Think about that. May Allah save the Muslims in India from their suffering and bring peace and unity to a fractured nation. Ameen.